What's going on, y'all? We are back for Power, Season 4, Episode 1, When I Get Out. Much anticipated Season 4 premiere. We have been waiting a long time and it is back. So, let's get into it. Not too much happening in this episode, just really picking up from where it left off last season, and that's to be expected of a season premiere. Not too much drama going on, but I can feel it coming. It's a lot of shit brewing, and we gonna get there. So anyway, Season 4, Episode 1, When I Get Out. Episode opens up with Ghost getting booked into the jail. And he's taking off all of his personal belongings, putting them into the tray, and he's flashing back in his mind like all the times people tried to warn him about Angela. And of course, because he's Jamie St. Patrick, he didn't think it would ever come to this. He didn't think Angela would ever turn on him like that, but we see she has. So it is what it is at this point. So he's getting processed in and everything. And while he's doing that, Tasha calls his phone. Tasha's calling about Tariq because as the season ended last season, Kanan had gotten his hands on Tariq and ransomed him. So Tasha's calling about that. Of course, Ghost can't pick up the phone at the time. And then we jump over to Sandoval. Sandoval, we all know Sandoval is really the one that killed Greg Knox because Greg was putting the press on him and he was starting to feel that heat. So Sandoval killed Greg last season, but we see Sandoval is getting ready to get rid of the pistol that he killed Greg with. He was going to throw it in the water. Meanwhile, he gets a call to say that Ghost had been arrested for Greg's murder. So instead of tossing the pistol, he decides to keep it. All right. And then we finally see where the hell Keisha been. Because for real, I thought the way shit was going last season, with all that shit that was going on with Tommy and Holly and how crazy it had gotten, I thought Tommy had killed Keisha. But we see that Tommy hid Keisha out. He goes downstairs into this dungeonous type apartment, and he shows up and he tells Keisha that she can go back home. The shit with Milan is over because we all know he killed Milan. Jamie and Tommy killed Milan last season. So Tasha calls while Tommy is there and tells Tommy that they want ransom for Tariq. And so Tommy's like, what the hell? Okay, so Tommy's got to deal with that. Okay, so we back at Truth with Andre on the phone with Karen. Karen's trying to explain everything that just went down, and Tommy comes and he grabs Andre up and is like, what the hell is going on? Like, Raina told me what is going on with this dude named Slim that Tariq been hanging with. So really, what's going on? We gotta find Tariq. And Andre doesn't say anything because Andre knows the deal. Like, Andre knows what's going on with the whole situation with Kanan, Tariq, Jukebox, and all of them. But he doesn't say anything because Andre pretty much is in the middle of it. So Andre basically diverts his attention, tells Tommy about Ghost being locked up because he's like, damn, I thought you would have known by now, but Ghost got Angie arrested Ghost. So at that point, Tommy is like, what in the entire fuck is going on? Because he just found out about Tariq getting kidnapped and ransomed, and now Ghost is locked up. So he's like, all right, what the hell is going on for real? So that was that. And then we see Angie at the apartment that she and Ghost at one time shared before Ghost went back to his wife over at the penthouse. And Angie, you could tell, at least to me, it seemed like in that moment that Angie kind of had a moment of clarity in her mind, like, what the hell did I just do? Because she was all head over heels for Ghost, and now that things are the way they are, it seems it really is looking like she is doing this just to be vengeful. So we see her sitting there looking all sad and depressed on the counter with the wine glass. She drops the wine glass. All right, whatever. I really don't feel sorry for Angie at all. So, and then we have Proctor. Proctor shows up at the baby mother's house, and she's supposed to be in outpatient rehab when she's clearly not, because she had a cocaine problem. So she's not there. Proctor's pissed off about it. He came to get his daughter, and the baby mother is going off about him and whatever. She all in, in her feelings about whatever she's in her feelings about. And Proctor gets the call from Ghost from jail letting him know that Angie had arrested him. And Proctor's like, look, just shut the hell up. Don't say nothing. Meanwhile, hold up. Rest in peace, Charlie Murphy. We see Charlie Murphy is in this episode as one of the COs. And he looks sick. Like, I didn't know Charlie Murphy was that ill, but it all makes sense now. So, rest in peace, Charlie Murphy. Definitely a comedy great. So, anyway, Charlie Murphy is the CEO, and he's like, look, nigga, get off the phone. It's time for you, this lights out, so I need to show you to your bunk. So he and Jamie and Proctor are talking, and Jamie's like, I didn't do this shit. And Proctor's like, just shut up, keep your mouth and your sphincter closed. Don't say shit. Okay. So, which any good attorney would do is to tell you to shut the fuck up. Don't say nothing. Don't even blink. So that was that. And Proctor calls Tasha to let Tasha know what's going on. Tells Tasha about the arrest. He also tells Tasha that Angie's responsible for it, which is no surprise, So, and then Tasha tells Proctor about the whole ransom situation with Tariq, and Proctor's like, I need you to not tell Jamie this right now, because he just was humiliated. Like, this is the most humiliating thing a man could ever go through, all because of his girlfriend. And so I need you to not say nothing to him, because he can't do anything, and I need him to focus right now. So I need you to not say nothing about Tariq to James. All right, which makes sense. And Tasha's smart, so unlike Angie would pretty much probably act off of her emotions, and not be logical about certain situations, as we've seen in previous seasons. Angie gets really emotional. So anyway, we at Jukebox's apartment with Kanan and the other guy, whatever his name is. I don't know his name, but the third guy. And Andre shows up. And Andre tells them about Ghost's arrest. Kanan is smiling ear to ear like, oh, that clean motherfucker finally got caught. And they go on about that. They talk about that for a second. And Andre's like, look, if it's money you're after, because Andre is trying to get Tariq back. And so they like, well, we need that money, and Andre is like, well, if it's money that you need, I'm in a better position to get that money for you, because I'm back on with Tommy, running coke for Tommy. And they like, eventually they agree to it, and Jukebox is like, we need 15 grand each a week. And Andre's like, well, that's damn near $50,000 a week, but he knows the position he has to play, so he has really no choice but to agree to it, because he's trying to stay alive. So he agrees to it. And then we got Tommy and Tasha. They at the penthouse talking about the whole arrest situation and everything. And Kanan comes up. Tasha's like, this can't possibly be Kanan. Like, please tell me that this isn't Kanan that has anything to do with this. And Ghost is like, nah, Kanan is dead. I'm sure that Kanan is dead. Little do they both know, though, Kanan's not dead. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens when that comes to light, that Kanan is actually alive, because as we see later on, Tommy asks Tariq, like, whose arm was that in that picture, you know? And Tommy smart. Tommy knows something is up, because he definitely does not believe Andre. And so Tariq wakes up, and Kanan's sitting there feeding him a bunch of BS about they decided to play a joke and take a picture of it and send it to his mom, just feeding him a whole bunch of bullshit while Andre's standing there waiting to take him home. And Kanan also tells Tariq that his father was arrested. So he gives him, and Kanan gives Tariq a burner phone. And like, you know, just hit me up on this phone because it's hot. Otherwise, like, don't hit me up on your regular phone. So Andre takes him home and everything. And this is where Tariq, not Tariq, but this is where Tommy and Andre talk again. And Tommy's like, how did you know where to find him? And Andre's like, I found him in Brooklyn. He was on a corner or whatever, and I seen him, and I grabbed him. I seen the other kids. I don't know who they were or whatever, but I seen him. I got him. I brought him home. And Tommy's like, you bullshitting me. Like, something ain't sitting right about that whole situation. And Tommy, of course, Tommy is right, but Andre's not going to let on. So, and meanwhile, Tasha's over there talking to Raina and Tariq about Ghost being locked up. So that was that. And, you know, Andre was like, well, what about a thank you? And Tommy just played it cool, because at that point, Tommy's on to Andre. So at that point, it was just like, it is what it is. And when he got in the elevator, you could see that Andre was relieved, like he felt like he dodged a bullet in that moment. So then we have Jukebox and Kanan talking about how it feels to be in jail, because Jukebox is like, you ain't stopped smiling since you heard Ghost got locked up. And Kanan is like, yeah, I'm thinking about when I was in there. Like, it takes you away from everything that comforts you, everything that makes you feel at home. And that's real fear. When you in jail, that's real fear. And we see Jamie in jail, and Jamie shook, because he's not used to that. And he pretty much thought he was above all of that too. So now the mirror has turned, and he don't like what he's seeing. Jamie's not liking what he's seeing. So Proctor visits Ghost in jail, and they're talking, and Jamie admits to being in Greg's apartment, but that he didn't kill him. And Proctor's like, well, your DNA was on Greg's body. Jamie's like, no, that's a lie. Your fingerprints were on the window of the outside of the apartment. And that's when Jamie was like, well, yeah, I was there, but I didn't kill him. So Jamie Jamie was there in the apartment to get the button mic recording, that, because remember last season Ruiz had the button recorder on, and that was incriminating. So he went in there trying to find it, and he didn't find it. But of course, because he was there, he ended up leaving fingerprints. And Proctor's like, look, I just need you to play the role of James St. Patrick, the businessman, because that's really all we have. We need for everybody that you come across in this jail and everywhere else to believe that you are a businessman, not Ghost. So this is, I need you to not fuck this up. Just do what you're supposed to do, and let me do what I'm supposed to do. So Tasha, and that was that. That was the end of their visit. And Proctor calls Tasha and is like, we gonna need $2 million in clean money. And Tasha's like, how much much do you know about us? Proctor's like, don't worry about that. I know enough to tell your ass that the money needs to be clean. Not no bags of cash. Not no untraceable bags of cash. I need this shit to be clean because we need Jamie, you know, what he was just telling Jamie, we need this shit to be clean. Okay, so Tasha's like, all right, and that's, she's struggling. Tasha gonna be struggling to try to come up with that bail money. And then we have Tommy and Keisha again. And Keisha's like, I'm not going to fuck home because I'm scared. Like, this shit is all over the news about Ghost and everything. I'm not going home. What if they come for me? And Tommy's like, they not gonna come for you. I got you. Don't worry, right? And I think Keisha can trust Tommy. Because he didn't have to do what he did initially by hiding her out. He could have just killed her, and he didn't. So we're going to see how that works out. Then Tasha, like I said, struggling. She goes to the bank, and this is why. She goes to the bank and is talking about selling stocks. And, like, you know, we don't need a cosigner to sell. And he like, well, nah, your portfolio's already been liquidated. She checks the safe deposit box. Ain't shit in there but a note that says, I'm sorry, I'll put it back. But he, if I remember correctly, he took that money so he could pay the security firm. I believe the money for Milan. I believe that's what happened with that. So back at the jail, clearly the CO that's played by Charlie Murphy has some sort of vendetta against James, because Jamie's getting his food off the line, and CO knocks the food tray out of his hand and is like, my bad, cop killer. So he has something against Jamie about that whole situation. And Keisha shows up at Tasha's house, at the penthouse, right? And they talking, and Keisha's like, you know what, Tasha, you just need to figure out what you're going to do with this situation with Ghost. So as they're talking, Tasha says, it's like I'm in a nightmare that I can't wake up from. And the nightmare storms through the door. It's the feds. They come in with a search warrant. And of course, Angie shows her ass up there. And Keisha's ready to bang on Angie. Keisha's like, man, Tasha, you say the word and I will beat her ass. And Tasha's like, nah. So Tasha goes up and talks to Angie, and she like, you know, Ghost wouldn't kill a cop. And Angie's like, yeah, his actions, whatever. And are there any weapons in the house? And so Tasha shows Angie to the safe. And clearly, like I said, emotions. If she didn't care nothing about the situation that happened with her and Jamie going back to his wife, she wouldn't have asked that question about, oh, he was sleeping in here, because Tasha shows her to the room where the safe was, and that just so happens to be another room other than the one that they shared. And so she's like, oh, he was sleeping in here? And Tasha's like, yeah, I was afraid he might have brought bed bugs from your house. So they get into the safe, and Angie said, and it's a pistol in the safe. And Angie says, is it loaded? And Tasha was like, I'm smart enough to know not to keep a loaded gun around children. Unlike Angie, because we know Tariq ended up with Angie's gun last season, right? So anyway, the CSI, the dude that was gathering the evidence says it's not the pistol because it's not the right caliber. Angie's like, well, tag it and bag it anyway. All right, so Tommy and Patar, I think that's Patar. It's so many different people, it's so many different characters, but that's Patar. They were in the barbershop talking, and everybody shook about Ghost getting locked up, because especially them, because they like, we doing business, we don't want this to affect what we doing. And Tommy's assuring him like, look, this don't have nothing to do with what we have going on. When we meet up later, I'm gonna set everybody mind at ease, and I'm gonna let them know everything is all Gucci. And we're gonna be cool, and that we are to connect now. So that was that. And then there was a moment where Raina encounters Angie at the penthouse and is like, how could you do this? You said you love my dad. And Angie tries to explain. Raina's having none of it. And so over at the meetup, Tommy explains everything that was going on, and it's like, Ghost ain't snitching, everything's cool. And Julio is the distro now. So Andre was tight over that, and they talk about that a little bit later on. Couple new characters this episode: John, the lawyer, and Tony Teresi. So we gonna see what happens with them, how they gonna fold them up into the plot. And Tasha's trying to dissolve the trust fund to get the $2 million, and she, because of the tax penalty, she can't do it. So, and she had also gone through a ghost bag and found a necklace, which I was thinking maybe she could have sold that to try to get some of the money or whatever, but we see later on that it's not enough. All right, so Tasha can't dissolve the trust fund, and she's in tears about it. So she's struggling, trying to figure out what she's going to do to try to come up with this money. So then we have Angie, Joe Proctor, and John, the new lawyer that we get introduced to this earlier in the episode. And so Proctor tells Angie, like, look, he did not do this. You're just mad and hurt, and you're trying to ruin his life. And if you testify against him, your career is going to be ruined. So they go back and forth real quick about that. John pops up, and Proctor introduces John and Angie, introduce them. They talk for a second, and clearly it's this adversarial thing going on between all three of them, between Proctor and John, between Angie and Proctor. And so that was that. Tasha visits Jamie in jail, and she tells Jamie, like, yeah, I went to the bank and nothing, yeah, you know what I mean. And he like, yeah, well, I'm sorry, I thought I'd be able to put it back or whatever. And she's like, we don't have any assets, Jamie. Like, we rent the apartment, you don't own Truth, we don't have anything that we can liquidate. So Jamie tells her to get the money from Dean. Dean was Milan. She's like confused, like, what the, like, I don't understand. But he's like, just go and tell Dean you want my money for a service he did not render. So he leaves Tasha to marinate on that. So and that's also when Jamie mentions that he'll make it up to them when he gets out. And Tasha's like, there is no making up for this, Jamie. So just put that out of your mind. So that was that. So Tasha's on a mission now to find out what this whole money from Dean thing is about. Then we have Sandoval and the other big brother dude. I don't know what his name or what his title is, but it's Sandoval, the other Fed, and then Angie and John. They all end up in the room together down at the DA headquarters, and they're talking about who's going to be first, second, and whatever on the case. And Sandoval also said that he thinks that Jamie killed Greg. They were, the other big brother dude, they were talking about that. And he's like, you don't think he did it? And Sandoval's like, yeah, I think he did it. And they go on to discuss positions on the case. Angie comes in, and they're like, Angie's possessive over the case. Angie's like, this is my case. After they told her, Sandoval's going to be first chair. Other dude is going to be, second chair, I believe. Oh, my nose is itching. Excuse me, y'all. So, um, so yeah, that was that. And John, when John comes in, they talk amongst themselves when John is there, and then John asks to speak to Angie alone. So they talk, and John is like asking about Jamie and Greg's personal interaction. Like, do they know each other like that? What's the deal with them? And Angie says that they met once, and it was at Truth over some official police business. And Jamie also told Angie that Greg had pulled him over the night that Greg was murdered. And John is like, well, that's motive right there. But Angie's like, well, it wasn't documented. And so he's like, John's like, well, how do I know it happened? And she's like, well, why would Jamie lie to me? And John's like, yeah, why wouldn't he lie to you? From my understanding, he lied to you quite a bit. So put her in her place about that, and then also said to her that the conflict of interest is too great and she's just not even going to be on the case at all. So then Julio shows up at Truth with Sue and is telling Andre that she works there now. And Andre's like, you know what, Ghost put me in charge of this, so I don't know really what you're talking about. And Julio is like, well, don't worry about that. I'll talk to Ghost when he gets out. For now, just do what I say, pretty much. So that was that. And Tasha and Tommy are in the car hitting the J, talking about the situation with the money. And Tasha tells Tommy what Ghost said about getting the money from Dean. And Tommy's like, you sure he said Dean? She like, yeah. And then he like, oh, I know what he means. It was from the money that we paid to the security firm. So we gonna have to ask Patar. And he's like, but Patar, you know, why would Patar even care? Like, Patar has no vested interest in nothing about Ghost. So why would he even care? And Tasha's like, well, if Jamie goes to prison, it's going to be even harder, way harder to move all that weight. So we got to make sure Jamie doesn't go to jail. And for that, we need that money. So Tommy's like, okay, cool. She was like, make sure you make Patar understand that this is now his problem. So Tommy convinces Patar to get the money. He runs down the whole situation with the people in Chicago. It's just a whole lot going on in that situation. But Tommy ran it down. Patar agreed to get the money. And then we have back at Truth in the office, Andre and Tommy. Andre hands Tommy the check to get Ghost out of jail, and asks about, you know, what's going on with Julio being the distro instead of me. Like, I kept it real with you from the jump. Like, what's going on? And Tommy's like, okay. He was like, so if you so 100, who the fuck is Slim? For real, who is Slim? Andre dodges the question again. Like, Tariq made it up. Like he said, he made it up. We got him back, and that's all that matters, right? And Ghost is like, yeah, nigga, okay, whatever. So when Ghost get out tomorrow, we'll all just we gonna all talk about it. So yeah, so and Tommy too. Tommy's pretty much like, Julio is the distro, so just do whatever the fuck Julio says to do. Like, why you all tight over this anyway? But Andre feels some type of way about it. So we gonna see how that unfolds when Ghost gets out of jail. And then in court, the prosecution and the defense are going back and forth about the weight of the evidence. And Proctor's like, you know, this evidence is thin at best. Like, you don't have any gunshot residue on his clothes, nothing like that. And John is like, yeah, well, we have A, B, C, and D. And he's a wealthy man. He can skate on bail, you know, whatever. And for a minute, it looked like it was going to come down to house arrest. And, you know, everybody pretty much at that point was looking relieved. Like Ghost looked back at Tasha. Tasha kind of had a smile on her face. And they looking like, you know, yeah, we got this thing sewn up. They didn't. The judge was like, after John made his last pitch at saying that, you know, Ghost had access to many resources, and the judge was just like, yeah, you know, we have to set an example. We can't let this slide. Like, it's not acceptable killing anybody in law enforcement. So bail is denied. So that was that. And that was a blow. You could see that was a blow to Jamie and Tasha. After all that she went through, after everything they went through to get that money, bail was denied. So when they're taking Ghost away, he says to Angie, you can't possibly think I did this. And Angie, I know you did it. Angie is being vindictive. She's really being vindictive. So then we have Andre and Kanan. Andre delivers the bread that he promised to Kanan and is telling Kanan, like, look, leave Tariq alone. I'm giving you this bread. I'm giving you as much as I can. Just leave Tariq alone. And it's smarter to leave Tariq alone anyway, because Tasha is probably on him now. Like, he's been kidnapped and she probably watching his every move. So just stay off of him. And Kanan says, all right, but we all know that was a bunch of bullshit, because as soon as they part ways, we see Tariq sitting in there at the desk, and he gets a text from Kanan asking him, is he keeping his head up? And Tariq, gullible, hard-headed self, he texts back and is like, yeah, I'm all right, when we gonna link up? So Tariq ain't learned his lesson, but then Tariq is none the wiser. Tariq don't know really what's going on around him. He's a gullible, sheltered type of kid. And so he's believing everything that Kanan is telling him. He thinks Kanan is his friend. So we're going to see how that develops. And then Tommy calls Proctor. Tommy calls Proctor and says he needs to talk to him. Tasha's back at the apartment, the deluxe apartment in the sky, and she's looking around. She gets off the elevator. She's looking around. You know, the house is tossed because the feds were there. So she's looking around, and she just tries to start straightening up as best as she can and everything. And then where the episode ends, Charlie, CO Charlie, breaks Ghost out of the line, and him and the other CO usher Ghost off into another area of the prison, and they beat his ass. So I don't know what that vendetta is about, and I don't know, for some reason this Terezi character, I somehow think that he has something to do with, possibly with this whole vendetta thing being spread out through CO Charlie and everything. I think he might have something to do with that. I might be wrong. I'm just guessing. But it was a good episode, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I really want to see how the dynamics are going to shift, because, you know, last season, Angela and, if I remember correctly, Angela and Tasha really didn't have very many face-to-face interactions, I don't think. But for some reason, I feel like this season they're going to be dealing with each other on a one-on-one basis a lot more, and I'm waiting to see how that goes. So anyway, y'all, that was Power Season 4 Episode 1, When I Get Out. I know this video is super long, my bad, but thank you for hanging in here with me. Thank you for tuning in, watching. If you haven't done so already, I'm gonna need you to subscribe to this channel. turn your notifications on so you can get notified when I upload my videos. And thanks again. I will see y'all in the next episode.